Assalamualaikum. My name is Muhammad Syafiq Sultan bin Rosli. Today I will present about Chapter 1. This report aims to analyze the factor influencing the profitability of Cimb Bank Berhad in Malaysia from 2008 to 2022. Focus on bank-specific factors like capital ratio, loan ratio, and liquidity risk. The research underscores the significance of a well-structured and profitable banking sector in fostering economic prosperity. The study aims to provide insight into the factors shaping bank performance and profitability in Malaysia. For background of study, the banking system is a critical component of the financial organization, providing essential access to finance for individual and organization. Recognise the need for a stable and robust financial system. The study focused on Cimb in Malaysia, utilizing data stream information to investigate bank profitability as a measure of managerial quality. Factors such as capital ratio, loan ratio, and liquidity risk are explored in the context of Cimb bank profitability. Despite existing research on the performance of commercial bank in Malaysia, the study contributes valuable insight into the specific factors influencing Cimb bank profitability, enriching the overall understanding of the Malaysian banking landscape. For the scope study, in this study, we want to measure Cimb bank Berhad overall financial performance. This is because we want to see bank performance in financial as a whole in Islamic banking sector. Islamic banking sector uses various forms of Islamic finance contract to fulfill customer need for financing facilities. Knowing the action taken by the management to increase the performance of profitability Cimb bank. There are a lot of products and services that are provided by banks. For example, investment financing will manage all the activities that are related to product and service offer. For this study, we use data for 15 years, which is from 2018 until 2022. The longer the period used to measure, the more accurate the result will be. Next is research objective and research question. Principally, the main objective of the research is to investigate and determine financial factors that are affecting the performance of Cimb bank Berhad. Equally important, this study also decides the connection with the dependent variable, which is profitability, with the independent variable, which is comprised of capital ratio, liquidity risk, and loan ratio. The specific objectives are as follows: to determine the relationship between capital ratio and the profitability of Cimb bank Berhad, to determine the relationship between loan ratio and the profitability of Cimb bank Berhad, to determine the relationship between liquidity risk and the profitability of Cimb bank Berhad. Next is issue and problem statement. Cimb Bank and other financial institutions have faced challenges during the COVID-19 pandemic, including a decline in product demand and liquidity issue due to the delay, low repayment, and temporary closure amid movement restriction. Cimb Bank financial statement for 2020 indicate a 6% revenue decline in the second quarter of the year, dropping to RM3.86 billion due to lockdown measure preventing customer access to branch. The liquidity crisis arose from Bank Negara Malaysia 6-month automatic loan delay impacting Cimb profitability, evident by a significant decrease in net profit from RM4.56 billion to RM1.19 billion. The study emphasized a direct link between liquidity risk and profitability, suggesting that high liquidity risk can potentially elevate profitability. Cimb Bank profitability over the last 5 years has been commendable, often measured through ROA, return on asset, indicating its effectiveness in generating profit from its asset. Overall, the study investigates factors influencing Cimb Bank profitability in Malaysia, exploring the relationship between variables like capital ratio, loan ratio, liquidity risk, and the bank profitability using ROA as a proxy.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Ahmad Nafis bin Ahmad Yasir, and today I will be presenting my slide on Chapter 2, Literature Review. So, the first IV that I will be talking about is capital ratio. A capital ratio is a measure of a bank's financial health and stability, particularly its ability to cover its risk, exposure, and potential losses. So, for the hypothesis in the capital ratio, there is a positive relationship between capital ratio and bank profitability by return on asset. So the next IV that I will be talking about is loan ratio. The loan ratio of total long-term and short-term loans to total asset stated as a decimal or percentage is known as the loan ratio, also known as the debt ratio. It can be understood as the percentage of debt financing a business has for its asset. So for the hypothesis of the loan ratio, there is a positive relationship between loan ratio and bank profitability return on asset. So the last IV that I will be include in this report is liquidity risk. Liquidity risk refer to the possibility that a financial institution may be unable to meet its short-term financial obligation, primarily due to a mismatch between its liquid asset and liability. The hypothesis for the liquidity risk is There is a positive relationship between liquidity risk and bank profitability return on asset. That is all from me. I will pass. I will be pass it to the next presenter, Muhammad Amirullah.
Assalamualaikum, my name is Muhammad Amirullah. For my part, I will explain about chapter 3, methodology. The first slide is the data collection. Using a secondary data linked from the privacy available financial statement in each of the bank annual report that was accurate through the data stream. The link between the dependent and independent variable will be assessed. Next point is data analysis. The data analysis for the study is collected from the public from Cimb Bank, and the finding of the study will be analyzed by using the econometric view or E-view to investigate that, also to observe the determinant of the bank profitability for the Cimb Bank, and also to respond the multiple variable to fitting a linear equation to observe the data. Next is the time series. To measure the relationship between DB and IV, the data was collected from year 2008 until 2020. Next slide is the test. The first one, the F-test, is using for the linear regression in order to evaluate the hypothesis that involved in the multiple IV and DB. If the F-test is more than 5, it shows that IV cannot infect the DB. If less than 5, it will be opposite. Next is coefficient of determination. It has a range from 0 until 100. The significant relationship between the loan ratio and the ROA with 0.010 R square. The regression model differs data perfectly, and the next relationship, none of the variation dependent IV can be explained by IV. Adjusted R, significant relationship between the loan ratio and ROA with the 0.010 R square. The number is closer to 1 indicate that the variable is good. Autocorrelation Durbin-Watson test is the employed in the least square regression to assess the autocorrelation. Durbin-Watson statistic has a range 0 until 4. Small significant value indicate the potential positive correlation. Last one is serial correlation. Godfrey LM test. Is look for the autocorrelation in the regression model error, and is a serial correlation of the Godfrey test. It's using for the model residual from the regression analysis it's considering.
Chapter 4 will cover the finding and analysis of the research paper based on the statistic analysis figure as portray the skewness level of the return on asset, capital ratio, loan ratio, and liquidity risk. Show a heavy duty distribution or more likely skewness to the right, where the increase choose a normal distribution of negative 1.322543 and negative 0.1405 or 04. On the other half of the variable portray a liquidity distribution as more of the data is bigger than plus or minus 1 in the criticism analysis. For anomaly test, based on the figure shows the Jabera test statistic is 0.884649 and the p-value is 0.642541. Since the p-value is greater than the significant level 0.05, we do rejected the null hypothesis that the distribute is not normal distribute. Therefore, based on the Jabera test, we can conclude that the residual are not distributed. For the correlation is the statistic used to measure the relationship between the one or more variable. It can be classified into two parts, which is positive and negative. There is positive relationship between capital ratio and ROA, which is value of 0.953286. Next, there's also positive relationship between loan ratio and ROA, which their value are 0.918310. Last but not least, there is positive relationship between liquidity risk and ROA, where the value shown is 0.487926. For the ordinary test, based on the result shown, the Durbin-Watson score is 1.86993, which is within the range of from 0 to 4. The value show that it close to 2, which the means which is mean the null hypothesis can be rejected and alternative hypothesis will be accepted. And however, based on the result above, the F statistics show 0.021677 score, which is less than the benchmark of p-value, which is 0.05. Based on the result, HO should be rejected and may conclude that the residual are not correlated. Next, the R-square show the score 0.57003, which is so less than the benchmark, which is 0.8. It indicate 57 of the variability of ROA performance have been explained by 3 independent variables in the model, which is capital ratio, loan ratio, and liquidity rates. The remaining 43% due to the omission another independent variable. The findings show that the value of R-square is not significant.
Okay, for the next slide, I will discuss about chapter 5, which is conclusion and recommendation. In this chapter, ordinary least square method will be used to explain the result of our study. The OLS results are obtained due to Durbin-Watson test that we run by using e-views. This chapter also discuss on our hypothesis, whether the hypothesis can be approved or not. Our objective also will be reviewed whether an answer by research question or not studies. Right, for the next is discussion. The bank size has positive relationship with bank profitability estimate by return on asset. They found that the large banks are more able to diversify their activities and as a consequence increase their profitability. This study also found that the capital ratio has positive relationship with bank profitability estimate by return on asset. Okay, for the next slide is hypothesis. Capital ratio, loan ratio, and liquidity risk has positive relationship between the bank profitability, which is the result is accepted. Next is recommendation. Centered VIF score of liquidity is less than 5 and it is proof that independent variables are moderately correlated. Besides, the study must to get the best F statistic, which is 0.021677, less than 0.05 that is large enough to reject the null hypothesis and conclude that there is a significant difference between the means of the population being compared. And the second point, accounting and audit department should be crucial to achieving the goal of the bank performance. Financial managers of financial institutions should look for variables that affect ROA or the business ability to serve its asset. Alright, for the last slide, which is the conclusion. The objective in conducting this study is to find whether the independent variable give effect or not toward the dependent variable. In summary, the result point that there is a significant positive relationship between profitability and the bank size, capital ratio, loan ratio, liquidity risk, and deposit. Nonetheless, further factors may be included in future studies as a further dig into their relationship with profitability. And that's all for me. Thank you.